What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today with the review for Tyler Perry's Sistas on BET, you guys. This is season 6, episode number 10, you guys. And this episode was titled The Aftermath. So before we go ahead and get into this review, you guys, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss Sistas on BET, shall we? All right, you guys, so this episode, we open up where we last left off with Maurice. So Maurice was sitting down with Logan, right? You guys know Maurice told Logan that it was him and Q who were behind the robbery, right? And I'm just sitting thinking to myself, looking at Logan, like, what kind of cop are you? Like, you're an idiot. Like, you make cops look bad, because he then asked, Maurice more questions, right, about this robbery. He asked him who all was involved. Maurice said Quincy Delana. He was like, okay, who else? He was like, I don't know them people. So he said, okay, I'm gonna show you a picture. He's like, no, I'm so sorry to these men. They know this. He quoted Keke Palmer, right, when she said she has no idea who that man was, right? And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, so you're not putting two and two together. If he's sitting here telling you, I don't know who these people are, that means he wasn't behind on this robbery. So he asked him, he started asking him specific questions about the robbery, and Maurice could not answer those questions. And I'm like, dude, common sense would tell you, like, if they take this to trial, the burden of proof falls on the DA, the district attorney. You're presenting the case, so you're presenting the case to the jury to make them believe that these people did this. What do you have on Maurice and Sabrina besides this recording from Q, who is not a credible witness? So you don't have a motive for why they did it. You don't have any paper trail for them. You don't have anything where they paid these people to do anything. You have absolutely nothing on them. So Logan said that he's gonna go get he's gonna call the DA and talk to the DA, right? Because Maurice is like, he wants to go to jail now, right? But Logan said he's gonna go talk to the DA. So the next thing we get is, oh my God, we see Aaron, you guys. So Aaron, he called Pam up, right? And I was like, I was with Pam when he called. Will you lose my number? Why are you calling me? So he asked for Karen's client list, and I will say one nice and positive thing about Aaron, because you guys know I typically have nothing nice to say about Aaron. But what I will say about Aaron in this particular scene was I did like the fact that, but I really think that the only reason why Aaron is doing this is to basically one-up Zach, because he knows that Zach is going to give Zach sold Karen, he's going to give her the money for the salon. I think he's really trying to one-up Zach at this point, right, to get in Karen's good graces. So he wants to get the client list so the way he can reach out to the clients and ask them if they would be willing to come and help clean up Karen's salon, since Karen has no insurance, and that'll be one less thing that Karen has to worry about taking care of. And Pam's like, they ain't gonna come clean up the shop. And he's like, what about the men at the shop who work at the shop? She's like, they are definitely not gonna do it, right? So then she tells him that, well, Zach is going to give Karen the money. And he was like, yeah, I don't think that Zach is going to give her the money, because they just had an argument with each other. I was like, Aaron, why are you putting Karen's, now granted, you guys know how I feel about Karen. You guys know that Karen is not my favorite person on this show. None of the sisters really are at this point my favorite, anybody but Danny. But why are you spilling this to Pam? You know that Pam's going to run this to whoever she runs it to. So I just don't understand why Aaron even sat there and had that conversation with Pam. I was like, that's stupid to have this whole conversation with Pam about Zach and Karen getting into it. Now, I'm glad he didn't go too deep into them getting into it. But hey, we're going to pause here and we're going to move forward, you guys. All right, guys. So next up, this scene with Danny and Preston, honestly, these scenes with Danny and Preston, I don't know why we needed them, because they were way too long and nothing happened in these scenes, right? So the first thing we see with Danny and Preston, we see them as they are having, the sexuals with each other, right? And, they finished up doing the do, and, they were talking about Danny having her hot girl summer, and, she was talking about how she's learned from that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, I hope you did learn from it, especially with Jonah, because after that fool, I wanted you to end that hot girl summer, right? So then she pulls out her vape pen, right, to take a hit of her weed, right? And so she was gonna give some to Preston, but he's like, no, Danny, I can't even drink alcohol without it messing with me. So they had a long, drawn out conversation about him smoking, right? So he asked her what all had she done. She said, well, in college she did shrooms. And I was like, why do we have this conversation? Like, I just didn't understand it. So he eventually took a hit. And then when we came back to the scene with them again, Preston was completely freaking out. Now, you guys, that scene, I will give it to Preston. That was very realistic of how you react when you are high off of, high on weed, right? Because that was very reminiscent of my first time when I ate an edible. Oh my God, I acted just like Preston. And because, I'm gonna have to give you guys a story time about that one. But yeah, so that was pretty realistic, guys, and it was pretty funny. So Sabrina, we see Sabrina. So Sabrina is at home, right? So she was watching TV, and then her phone rang, and it was Calvin. So Calvin called Sabrina to say, "Hey, do you want some company?" And she was like, I guess, Calvin. So she says, how soon can you get over here? He says, come to the door. And when she went to the door, Calvin is at the door. He said, well, at least I called this time. I was like, Calvin. That's not what, yes, you called, but you were already at her door hoping that she would let you in. Like, that is one of my problems with the men on Tyler Perry shows, is that, actually, it's with Sistas in general. Everybody shows up to everybody's homes and don't call or anything. They just there at your door. Like, baby, call me before you call and make sure I'm at home. Even if I'm at home, I might still tell you, go the fuck away. Like, God, I just couldn't with you. I couldn't with that scene, you guys, because it was something else, right? But so yeah, he came in and they sat down. So Sabrina's like, I don't want to watch TV because there's true crime stuff on Sabrina, girl, I get it. You are dealing with this shit with this whole situation with Maurice, Q, and all of this, but girl, you're out on bail. So she doesn't want to do that. So he says, well, he said, you can just go to sleep and I'll stay here. It's like, I can't really go to sleep, Calvin. So he says, so do you want to just talk? It's like, okay. So she starts telling him about this time. I think she said she went to Jamaica and the pigs in the water bit her. I was like, what the hell are we talking about here? I was so confused. I was like, Lord, what is this scene and why is it on my television screen, right? So eventually, Calvin went in for a kiss. I was like, oh, that's what we doing, okay? So Calvin also told Sabrina that, he had a conversation with Maurice and how he basically blamed Maurice, right? And Sabrina's like, well, it is Maurice's fault. Okay, let's just pause right here with that whole situation about let's put it all on Maurice, right? Yes, Sabrina, you warned Maurice about Calvin. I mean, not Calvin, but Q. Yes, that is true. But let's not act like Q didn't stay in that house because of Calvin. Because at one point, Maurice was not letting Q in that house. At one episode in particular, I can't remember which one it was, but there was an episode when Maurice got home, Calvin had let Q in because Q had given him a sob story, and the man fell for it. And so let's not sit here and just put this all on Maurice. And then they're also wondering about Maurice doing something stupid. I was like, well, if you were worried about this man doing something stupid, why did you sit there and tell him that it was his fault, Calvin? Make it make sense, because it really does not make sense. If you are going to sit here and tell him that it is his fault, I'm pretty positive there are things running in his brain like, okay, maybe this is my fault. Maybe I need to go make things right for Sabrina, since Sabrina had nothing to do with this. Like, I was really irritated and frustrated with that scene. I was just like, what in the holy hell is going on here? Like, it was kind of stupid to me. Like, if you feel like Maurice might do something stupid, why did you have that conversation with him? Why did you have that conversation with him, Calvin? Make that make sense. But yeah, you guys, let's go ahead and pause here and move forward, you guys. All right, you guys, so we move back over to Maurice and Logan, right? So Logan, he said he went and talked to the DA, right? So Logan comes in and Logan is talking to Maurice, basically telling Maurice, like, the DA is saying you're gonna get 15 years in prison, and he was like, okay, I want to do the 15 years, right? Then Logan says, but I talked to the DA. If you give up Sabrina, you won't have to do any time. And Maurice is like, I told you Sabrina didn't do it. But if you give up Sabrina, you won't have to do it 15 years. But if you don't give up, it's 15 years. We kept going back and forth about that. But here's the thing that I have a question about. Why are y'all so adamant that it's Sabrina? Like, that's the thing that's tripping me up, is the fact that everybody wants Sabrina and not Maurice. But I'm just wondering, why do y'all want to? Oh, the DA, you guys. I just thought about who the DA is. That white man. I just thought about it. The DA wants Sabrina because he has a bone to pick with Andy for his divorce. Because I was just sitting here like, why are we going so gung ho for Sabrina? A woman. Actually, let's just go backtrack real quick. How can y'all give Maurice 15 years if Maurice doesn't have a criminal record? Like, that should be if Maurice did do this robbery, shouldn't it just be like a slap on the wrist at that point? Because once again, the only person who has a prior record is Q. But then, like I said, let's go back to what I said earlier in the review. When you think logically about this situation, when you go to court, the only thing that you have to present to the jury is that recording from Q. You don't have anything else to present to the jury. You don't have any paper. There's not, if it's a robbery, there's not going to be a paper trail, right? But you can at least find the money, follow the money. Like, there's nothing. Maurice couldn't tell you who those men were. So he's saying that Q went and got those men, right? But think about, like, logically, none of this makes sense. Like, logically, none of this shit makes sense. But we're talking about Tyler Perry here. So why am I trying to make anything logical out of this, right? But yeah, so he said he talked to the DA. The DA is willing to give Maurice a deal if he flips on Sabrina, right? So Logan, like I said, what kind of cop is he? So next up, we move over, we see Karen, right? So Karen is calling her doctor, and she's talking to the doctor about some document that she doesn't have, but she needs a physical copy of it. And so she told the doctor that she's gonna come down and get it. So after that, she called Pam, and Pam told her that, she asked Pam where was she. Pam said she's down at the salon and that they're cleaning up the salon. And she's like, you clean up the salon? She's like, yeah. This was something that Aaron put together, right? And so she told her that she and the other clients are cleaning up the salon. I guess Karen's gonna don't go down there or what? I don't know. I don't really care. So next up, you guys, we see Fatima. So Fatima and Zach are at home. So Zach is already up early that morning, and he's talking to Fatima. So he's telling Fatima how she was wrong to go over to Karen's house. And I want to point this out to you guys because a lot of people were in my comments last week about Karen and Fatima, right? And there are a lot of people who, I want to ask this question because a lot of people were defending Karen. So do you guys identify with Karen? And there's no disrespect if you guys do, right? But what I will ask, if you do identify with Karen and you've done things that Karen has done currently, I hope you guys have elevated from that. That's all I'll say, right? So Zach told Fatima she was wrong. And Fatima was like, yeah, she was wrong, but she really just went over there with Karen to basically just, put her foot down and say enough's enough, right? And I'm absolutely okay with that, right? She wanted to set boundaries with her. So Zach told Fatima that, okay, well, I'm going to go down to the salon and give Karen the money, right? And she also told him about the lawyer saying that he needed to come into the office to talk to him about the little boy, right? Now, also, I want to point out something that was a running theme in my comment section last week, and I absolutely agree with you guys when he said it. So a big thing in my comment section last week was the fact that with Zach, we need for Zach to stop telling Karen that he loves her. And I agree with that, you guys. I think that that's causing a lot of issues and a lot of harm in the relationship with Zach and Fatima, and it's fueling Karen's delusion. So I'm absolutely in agreement with you guys that Zach needs to stop saying that he loves Karen because, again, like I said, it's causing issues in his relationship and it's fueling Karen's delusional ass. But let's pause here, you guys, and go ahead and wrap up this episode. The next scene, you guys, we got is Hayden. So we see Hayden. So Hayden is getting ready to go for a run with Gary, right? So he woke up and Tamara wasn't there. So Gary showed up. And so when Gary came in, he told Gary that, he told Tamara about the annulment and he wakes up this morning and she's gone, right? So Gary is like, you couldn't like her that much, could you? I was like, Pod, please meet Kelda because let's talk about you and Andy. Granted, like I've said plenty of times, and I want to point this out as well. I know somebody left in my comments last week that Aaron knew Karen before Zach knew Fatima. That is correct, and I've never denied that, right? What I've said, if you guys have listened to me, I've been reviewing Sistas for what now? Almost 3 years. If you guys have listened to my reviews over the years, I've said the same thing about everybody. Aaron and Karen, Zach and Fatima, Danny and Preston, Sabrina and Calvin, right? I've said the same thing consistently about everyone that I feel like when it comes down to them and their relationships, they're very soon because none of them know each other that well. They've only known each other for a short length of time, right? So I know that Aaron met Karen before Zach met Fatima, right? But even still, it's a very short window. Like I don't know how many days we are in with Sistas from the very first episode, but it's not a long length of time, you guys. But that's neither here nor there, right? So when Gary mentioned how him not like it's been too soon for him to like that girl, Hayden brought up Andy, right? So then they talked about it and Andy, and so Hayden was telling Gary that maybe the reason why Andy said what she said to him is because the women at the office have gotten into Andy's head. That, and the reason why Andy said what she said is because it was the truth and she was high and she spoke what her normal brain would not say. And Gary's little fragile ego just can't handle that. And that's the problem with Gary. Your fragile ass ego could not take that blow, right? So then we move over to Andy and Fatima's office, right? So Andy got the work and she told Fatima to come to her office because they needed to talk. Now here's my thing with Andy. Like, granted, you are her boss, 9 to 5. You are at Karen's house. You don't dictate, you don't control what happens outside of working hours, right? But Fatima did tell Andy that she was wrong, right? And like I said, I want Andy to kind of chill out because, ma'am, your best friend started all this bullshit. So if Karen had got a big mama beat down, it would have been on Karen. And again, I will say one more thing. I will say one more thing and one more time. Yes, Fatima was wrong to go over to Karen's crib. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to dispute that, you guys. I agree with you guys when you say that she was wrong, right? So Fatima also told her that she did talk to Zach and that she does believe Zach, right? So then she also told Andy that she looked into the little place that they went to and she found the cameras and Karen lied about them having sex, right? So then she asked Andy, well, how did your night go, right? So Andy said, my night didn't go that well because Gary pissed me off. But she did show her that she got onto a dating website. And I was like, Andy, you got onto a dating website? Okay, girlfriend, do you? But Fatima looked at that website and saw some of the men. She was like, girl, he ain't shit. He ain't shit. Girl, me and him, he dated me and my best friend at the same time. So, yeah, once again, Fatima did tell Andy that she was sorry for what happened the night before. And that was that. So then we wrap up the episode with Calvin, right? So Calvin, he would love to go to the office. I'm like, what job does Calvin have? Like, I'm sorry, but Calvin has a job, but okay. Neither here nor there, you guys. So after that, we see Sabrina. So Sabrina called Danny up, right? And Sabrina is suggesting to Danny that they go over to Karen's crib before they go to work. And she's like, Danny was like, well, should we call Andy? She's like, I don't think so. So then Danny hung up the phone with Sabrina and she was getting ready to get ready for work. And out comes I'm kind of confused. How is he still high? Like, they did it the night before, but he's still high? Like, I was so confused, you guys. I promise you, I was so confused with that scene. But, Preston came out dressed like Danny in Danny's outfit with her skirt on and her blouse. I was like, what kind of... I mean, it wasn't an edible that they did. It was a vape pen. So how is he still... Never mind. This is Tyler Perry's world. We're just living in it, you guys. But that's really the episode, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comment section below, you guys. Please subscribe to the channel. Turn your post notifications. Share the video, you guys. And until next time, please, you guys, stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.